let's Baagan.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Sports Khabri, Arun Foot, Curious Harry, and we've got a special guest today, Sushmit. Of course, he's a huge Mohun Baagan fan. Second time that Sushmit sort of doing this for us. Thanks so much for joining today. Um,
Thank you.
Sushmit's here because there's big news to talk about. Juan Fernando has been sacked by Mohun Baagan Supergiant. It's a topic that we've discussed and it's been quite popular on our podcast, Sushmit. Um, the funny thing is there was a happy birthday post and then the sacking came right after that. So yeah, I mean, as a Mohun Bagan, firstly your take on it, Mohun Bagan fan.
Okay, so first of all, Happy New Year to everyone, or to all the audience. I hope you have had a good holiday season. I'll take around 5 minutes. I am prepared this time. I actually wrote up a little bit so that first of all, our little so this happened around midnight my time. I woke up around 4 o'clock in the morning and was glancing my phone just to you as usual, and I saw a black and white photograph. First of all, I want to address this issue that if you are you are handling social media, please do not put a black and white photograph, because if I wake up at the middle of the night, it completely denotes something else. I understand when you say bye Juan Fernando, please do it in a color photograph. Having said that, I see. So then I started looking at the social media and everything. So I see a lot of hue and cry about like why one is being removed and how good of a gem of a person he was. I want to address this fact that I don't know where is this surprise coming from. A major number of Mohun Bagan supporters were demanding his resignation, especially and this is not only related to the three-match loss that we have had. It is also because of the fact that we did not do well in the AFC. So that is a major issue, setback for us. And no matter what, and I have said this past in this channel, that no matter what we do, is not going to make things right. I mean, this is still going to haunt us, at least for the rest of the season. So, having said that, I have tried to put it in like in the three part on this current situation of whatever happened into the good, bad, and the ugly. I'll try to look into try to read through the good part and the bad part. The good part is that Mohun Bagan team currently needs a friendly father and not a friend in a father. The problem with one was, I think he was a friend in a father, and somehow he did not command the respect that the team probably this kind of stars require. Antonio Habas is a taskmaster. We all know about this, and he is a father who could be friendly to you, but can also be very unfriendly at times if you are not listening to what he tries to say. So that's a good thing. That is definitely what we tactically. The second part is that Hawas is tactically at the same league at I would say what Manolo Marquez or Sergio Lovera is. Tactically, he is very good. There is no doubt about it. And I also want to address the fact a lot of people are surprised that why Habas. From a management perspective, what I understand is even if we would have bought a foreign coach, uh, and then the issue would have been that you still need a break-in time for a new person to come in and to adjust to the situation, to have a hang around how Indian football works. Unfortunately for us, we do not have that time anymore. We cannot afford to lose many points if we really need to have a shot at the championship. So it is important that someone should who comes in, understand what is required to deliver from the get-go. I know it's a tall ask, but I think compared to maybe bigger names that were in contention. So for now, Havas is not a bad idea in that case. It's a band-aid, but not a full-fledged solution, but a band-aid for now. Uh, Another thing is that as much as a lot of people do not like the style of play that Havas has, I mean, it could be boring and can kill you. But I think it's not a bad thing, because Mohun Bagan at the end of the day, is a trophy-oriented club, and Habas is a trophy-oriented coach. He does not care about the beauty of the beautiful game. I think he's more interested to actually, I often, from whatever little I have seen of him, I see that he tries to play it like a chess game rather than a game of football. and he's his point of view is to gain as much as you can from whatever you have. So these are the good parts. The bad part is that Habas and the current crop of players that we have, that is definitely a square peg in a round hole. Philosophically, they are completely different of how whatever we have as part of the strength and what Habas has. Habas has played, like how he has coached the teams in past years. So one thing that we need to understand is that Hamas as well as the players need to meet somewhere in the middle in philosophically so to get the best results. This can be challenging because there are if we have a coach with huge ego, we have players who are like notorious. So it is we have to. This is something that we have to see, and this is what can actually cause a lot of trouble for us, even in terms of the playing philosophy. So that's one thing. The second thing is statistically, if you let a coach go mid-season, it has rarely done good to any team. But it is again we have to beat the odds statistically to do good. I mean, to have a better result this time. And now let me come to the worst part, which is the ugly part that I want to address. Is that now that we do not have a technical director, uh, that means that we do not have someone who looks at the bigger picture beyond the first team, the reserve team, and so that is something that is worrying for me because this again might be a band-aid. Even if we put everything else for 6 months, we have to understand that the overall progress of the club is now stalled at least for 6 months. Right. And the second thing that I want to address is that the ugly part is that the one before the start of the season, one gave out an interview and talked about the philosophy. See, when he meant philosophy, he wanted to mention was like how Mohun Bagan plays, that brand of football. Fortunately for clubs like Mumbai City FC and all, they do have a parent that overall globally has a particular philosophy that they adhere to, which is why even if a coach changes, and all these things happens, they are not impacted as much as you must have seen that how days Buckingham left and the new coach came in. They adjusted very quickly because the entire thought process is very streamlined. For us as a single entity from a footballing world, that is a problem, and especially because these are very contrasting philosophy that Juan Fernando bought as well as what Habas has. So I am worried on what defines Mohun Bagan now, or what is going to define Mohun Bagan going forward. It is important we have this philosophy established. For us, the good part is that it is we can we can have a philosophy established, but for that it is important that we keep a coach for a certain amount of time to at least have that kind of thing. Plus, this is something that should come from a club level. Unfortunately, as a Mohun Bagan fan, and I don't know, as an Indian football fan, nobody has a clarity on what we are expecting in terms of how we play, what defines Mohun Bagan. We know how what defines jumps, what defines Mumbai City FC, but we do not have that understanding in terms of what Mohun Bagan is going to represent going forward. That's one thing, and Habas, one more thing is I looked into the announcement and it said that Habas is an interim solution. This also brings up the motivation factor. If I look into from a Habas's point of view, right? Uh, will I be as motivated to deliver if I know that someone bigger might? Because this is also what I am hearing is that as of now, Habas is an interim solution because Mohun Bagan is looking in at bringing in a bigger name, apparently, with also a bigger set of name-wise bigger players in the summer window. So there could be restructure to the team. So too much changes, and I also what worries me is that we do not become a victim of the cancel culture. You know, you bring in a coach, you cancel them. You bring in a philosophy, you cancel them, because that way we are going to end up nowhere. So we need stability from that aspect. And knowing Kolkata football, following for 20 to 25, 30 years, what I've known, this is where we, this is the biggest problem for us because as a fan, we fans are impatient. They just want to have a short-term solution. Everyone is talking about the ISL trophy and everything. But even if we get an ISL trophy and we get qualified to play for ACL League 2 next time, what are we going to achieve? Do we have a concrete plan on what we need to achieve? And if the investor is invested in taking the club forward in a sense that they're going to invest in the grassroots and all, so those things are missing. I had a ray of hope that Habas would eventually bring those things to the table, but now that everything has changed, that I mean that makes it very. I feel a little nervous about that. On that, not having a view of the bigger picture. Thank you. That was all about it.
Fair enough,
Enough
fair
of
enough.
ranting. Yeah.
But guys, I mean, addressing the multiple things that Sushmit has said, I think one important thing that he mentioned was the absence of a technical director now, Arunava, that who looks at the bigger picture in the club. And secondly, is this something that you expected, Juan Fernando's departure?
To be honest, no, because my informations over the last few days have clearly been that the management wanted to keep Juan Fernando if they could until the end of the season, not even until the end of the Super Cup. So that was their original plan. It seems to be that there have been conversations between the management and Habas in regard to what is the assessment of the current situation, and something seems to have changed over the last 48 to 72 hours to come to the conclusion today to say, you know what, Juan, thanks a lot what you've done for the club, but it's time for you to go. Senor Habas comes in and takes over. And it's interesting, I do a comparison to what has happened at your favorite club at BFC. We've had the same discussion from the start of the season because you had Albert Roca at the club. And there the point was that Albert Roca seemed to say, is like, even if you fire Simon Grayson, I will not take up the mantle of head coach, even if it is for a transitional period. In the worst case, let Renedy as an assistant coach run it. We will find someone else. And then Saragossa has come in with having been part of the club and having coached. So it's very interesting to see these contrasting approaches of clubs and teams. And the question also persists to me. I think that is also what Shushmit was implying to, is like, what was Habas been doing for the last 3-4 months as a TD in the background? At least Shushmit, correct me, or even Hiren or you, I don't know what Habas, if at all, what Habas has been doing for the last 3-4 months in the background, right? So therefore, there are a lot of questions that need to be asked, because it's very weird that we were talking in pre-show that also the mood suddenly has changed. People were anti-Ferrando for the last, 2-3 months, to be very honest, especially after the AFC Cup defeat to Odisha, the exit from the AFC Cup, the loss to Goa, to Mumbai, to Kerala Blasters. The mood was, for such a big club, for such a big entity, I felt it was negative. And suddenly, today it feels like people are saying, oh, why was he fired? And this is sort of and that's something which you see amongst fans, right? I have friends of mine who are fans of West Ham United. They want David Moyes gone, right? And like, you have so many points like never before in the Premier League. You just won a European Cup. Why? We don't like his football. And this is something where, what is your football? I think that's a big question that Shushmit asked in regard to what does the oldest football club entity in India and in Asia stand for. I think there are per se 2 teams in India who can say, listen, we've got a style, we've got something. That is one, Mumbai City as mentioned. The other one to me is FC Goa. Those are the 2 entities where you know what kind of football they want to play. All other teams, depending on who is the coach, even BFC, that will sort of define of how will you play. BFC, of course, has played more of an attacking, of a flair football, but Simon Grayson didn't play that. And Habas has a way of playing football, as Shushmit has explained very, very nicely, is that he wants success. He does not care if you're winning 1-0 or 5-4. Lobera clearly says, listen, I want to win 5-4. I hate winning 1-0. So therefore, that's going to be an interesting one. And egos. He has clashed with egos. I remember the whole Fikru incident where, Fikru was the man and he sort of got rid of him. He had a fight with an opponent in Robert Perez in the first season where both of them got banned. He picked on Luis Garcia. He picked on this guy. He picked on that guy. Habas is a disciplinarian, is a very, very strict coach, and very clear also, my way or the highway. And it will be a test for the foreigners at Mohun Baagan, especially for the Cummings, for the Sadikus, and a character like Hugo Bumus, is like, can they adjust to this coach? That's going to be, I think, the big question, because um, Habas knows what he's achieved. He's sure of himself. He knows that I've got a task. If I'm playing the Super Cup, I will want to win the Super Cup. If he himself got a plan B and say, listen, rest of the ISL, someone else is going to coach, he might have it in his head. But for the Super Cup, he's coming in. Whoever is there, whoever will be in the Mohun Baagan squad, Habas will ensure that he has a team that can win the title. I think that's the big thing. I think that's the big thing that this manager brings in.
Yep. Hiren, for you personally, I want to actually listen to all of your opinions on this. Do you personally feel like it was time for Juan to go midway through the season? Of course.
नहीं नहीं आई थिंक फॉर मी नेवर बीन कि हमने पहले भी बात की थी इसके रिगार्डिंग और मेरे हिसाब से नहीं था अभी टाइम आई थिंक उतना आई थिंक बुरा उसने नहीं किया है इफ यू उसके स्टेट भी उठा के देख लीजिए आपको आईएसएल कप जिताया है आपको इस सीजन का दुरान कप जिताया है एंड स्टिल यू आर इन द रेस और यू कैन से कि इन द शील्ड विनर आप ऐसा भी नहीं है कि मोहन बगान हाफ सीजन हुआ है और यहाँ पे पूरा शील्ड तो गया है आई थिंक दे आर स्टिल इन द रेस लेस मैचेस खेले हैं बट हमको पता ही है कि चाहे इंडियन फुटबॉल हो या फिर वर्ल्ड फुटबॉल हो क्रेडिट भी मिलता है तो मैनेजर को ही मिलता है एंड जब लॉसेस भी आते हैं तो इवेंचुअली भले ही एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर कितने भी रहे वो प्लेयरों की इंजरी फॉर्म शेड्यूल आपका कितना भी कंजेस्टेड रहा वो सारी चीजें है एंड साइनिंग्स भी मेरे को सुनने में मतलब सर भी पूछ रहे थे कि ये एंटोनी ओबास का एज अ टेक्निकल डायरेक्टर यहाँ पे क्या रोल था तो कुछ लोग बोल रहे हैं कि भाई जो समर साइनिंग्स थी उसमें उसका ज्यादा से था रादर देन जुआन फरांदो सो ये सारे फैक्टर होने के बावजूद भी कि जो भी कहीं ना कहीं जो अगर पिछले आफ्टर दैट ओडिशा लॉस आई थिंक जो टीम का परफॉर्मेंस आया है या फिर एएफसी कप में जो उन्होंने परफॉर्मेंस दिया है उसमें ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ टेक्टिकली जुआन फेरांडो यहाँ पे फेल हुए आई थिंक दिस आर दी ऑल दी फैक्टर्स की जो भी कहीं ना कहीं रिजल्ट को अफेक्ट किए हैं उसके चलते टीम का जो परफॉर्मेंस है वो कहीं ना कहीं लेटर पार्ट ऑफ दी ये फर्स्ट हाफ ऑफ द सीजन में कहीं ना कहीं डिग्रेड हुआ है एंड वो सारे मिला के यहाँ पे टीम क्या बोलते कि सफर की है बट हमको पता ही है कि जैसे फुटबॉलिंग वर्ल्ड में कि अगर आपकी टीम हारती है देन इवेंचुअली ऑल द ब्लेम विल गो ऑन दी कोच और मैनेजर एंड वही यहाँ पे भी हुआ है कि इवेंचुअली इट्स गोस डाउन टू दी जोन फरांदो एंड उनको यहाँ पे रिप्लेसमेंट कर दिया है एंड आई थिंक सुष्मित भाई ने वैलिड क्वेश्चन पूछा है कि यहाँ पे अगर वो इंटरिम है एंटोनी होबास देन आई थिंक किस तरह से आपका एक 6 मंथ का प्लान रहता है एंड कहीं ना कहीं वो एक कभी कभी क्या होता है हमने काफी सारे ऐसे क्लब्स देखे कि कहीं ना कहीं वो ट्रांजिक्शन में साइकिल होता है उसमें फंस जाते हैं कि भाई इंटरिम ये ला रहे हैं फिर आप एक क्या बोलते कि वो फैन का प्रेशर हैंडल नहीं कर पाते सारी चीजें आ जाती है सो आई थिंक इतने बड़े क्लब में आई थिंक वो स्टेबिलिटी मेरे हिसाब से बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है एंड कहीं ना कहीं वो अभी मिसिंग लग रही है सो दैट्स दी वन ऑफ द बिग थिंग की जो आई थिंक मैं चाहता हूँ कि मोहन बगान की ओर से शो होनी चाहिए थी एटलीस्ट जैसे आई थिंक अरुणा सर ने भी बोला कि मैं एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा था कि ये सीजन तक तो जॉन फर्नांडो के साथ कंटिन्यू कर लेंगे क्योंकि उसके बाद अगर आप जाते ट्रांजिशन में तो फिर भी थोड़ा सा सेंस बना था बट लेट्स सी इट्स गोइंग टू बी नाउ इंटरेस्टिंग एंटोनी हबास से हम सब यहाँ पे वाकिफ है किस तरह की प्लेइंग स्टाइल है एंड आई एम रियली इंटरेस्टिंग टू सी कि उसकी जिस तरह की प्लेइंग स्टाइल है उस जिस तरह की फुटबॉल खेलता है उसमें इतने ज्यादा अटैकर इंडियन भी इतने सारे अटैकर आपके पास है आसिफ कुरुनियान है लिस्टन कोलासो है मनवीर है कियान नसीरी है सहल अब्दुल समद है एंड 4 आपके फॉरेनर इन सबको वो कैसे यूटिलाइज करता है और क्या कितना गेम टाइम मिलता है दैट विल बी रियली रियली इंटरेस्टिंग टू सी बिकॉज एटलेटिको मैड्रिड का उसके पास डीएनए है तो फुटबॉल तो आपको उसी तरह की देखने को मिलेगी बट आई थिंक किस तरह से ड्रेसिंग रूम को हैंडल करते हैं एंड प्लेयरों का क्या एट द एंड ऑफ द सीजन there might be a case कि भाई some of the player wants to leave the club to for the game time or all of that thing तो I think interesting time ahead but also challenging time I would say ये थोड़ा सा आप बोल सकते कि फ्लक्चुएशन के थ्रू आई थिंक मोहन बगान गुजरेगा मेरे को ये लगता है एंड जो कि कहीं ना कहीं टीम की परफॉर्मेंस के ऊपर भी मे बी यहाँ पे पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव दोनों इम्पैक्ट आ सकते हैं कभी कभी हमने देखा है कि एक पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट भी देखने को मिलता है कभी कभी इतना ज्यादा जब क्या बोलते हैं चेंजेस होते रहते हैं तो हमने देखा है कि टीम एकदम से यहाँ पे जो एक चांसेस अगर यहाँ पे स्टेबिलिटी होती तो इसी टीम के साथ भी आप बेटर रिजल्ट एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते थे वो भी कहीं ना कहीं नहीं मिल पाते तो लेट्स सी
Yep, Undisputed is saying that Habas is old school. It's something that everybody has sort of touched upon on this panel as well. That he is old school. He's a no nonsense manager. he doesn't care if the football's pretty or not. The results are what count. Sushmit, your take on Juan leaving? Did you think it was time for him to leave, or should you have stuck with him at least until the end of the season?
I think Mohun Baagan did him a favor. It will do him good. The reason I say is that, again, one is a very good manager, but one thing that I feel is that he hasn't been flexible. To be successful, there are few things that needs to be done. To be successful at fan based club like us, bigger to be successful at bigger clubs, is that one, you have to adjust to the situation. One of the frustration, and to add to what Arunavada said, was yesterday, I think there was a Zoom call around 6 p.m. in the evening, where one was called, and I think the decision was taken yesterday itself, which might be the reason why he wasn't wished happy birthday until almost like 9 o'clock in the evening, right, from the handle. But that's one thing. I think the frustration stemmed from the fact that he was not being flexible. He has to understand the fact that all the philosophy and everything that we talk about, right, that cannot be at the expense of the club. It is because of the club that he has to establish the philosophy. His philosophy, the club will not fall in line for his philosophy. That is a balance that needs to be achieved. I think Juan needs to learn that if he has to be. I mean, that is what is, I think, stopping him from being a great coach. He's a very good coach, but again, so this is an aspect of it. Another thing that I want to add is, probably there is untouched, is that whether it's one or it's Antonio Habas, one thing that we have to understand is that Kolkata football also runs on perception. So it is very important that he, one, definitely has failed in that perception management, because he seemed to be, unfazed even after a thrashing from Orissa. He was like, no, I know how we played, and he kept on giving excuses for players not being available and all. When you have like a 70 crore, 100 crore team, even if it's the issue, I don't think it's prudent for him to whine about it matches after matches, right? I mean, he needs to, and that perception is an issue. Although it is just,
I think Shushmit, you know what the problem I think with the coaches like Juan Fernando is that he does not play that media / social media game like other coaches. He
Other
sticks
yeah,
coaches.
and you
what
need to,
and
you have to be
and
narcissist, right? I've told
exactly
you have to be
exactly. We've spoken.
narcissist, megalomaniac to be successful in Kolkata football.
So
Otherwise, and look
so
at
on
any
one side,
successful
yeah.
coaches.
No, I
Everyone has
think
been a megalomaniac
forget
of
even
a course.
successful. I think look at, for example, at the moment, Carlos Quadrat, how he is handling the Kolkata media. Good example.
Right.
The counter example last season was Stephen Constantine. And Stephen was
Right,
blunt,
right.
was open. It doesn't work. And Juan Fernando, if you see his press conference, went very technical, went very tactical, tried to explain things. I think a lot of people don't even want to hear that. They just want a simple answer. And then also, what I think he missed, in my opinion, was to understand this empathy angle of Kolkata football. I think it's very, very important. Not only Kolkata football, look at Ivan Vukovic at the Kerala Blasters, who has built a connection with the fans. He is as successful or as unsuccessful as every other Kerala Blasters manager so far. But he's built a reputation with the fans that the fans love him so much.
So much.
And that is something that you either get or don't. And that will be very interesting with Habas, because Habas is on a different tangent. Habas will speak less. Will other people speak for him? Let them speak for him potentially, and let the results speak for him. So, and it's a totally different approach. It has worked in the past at ATK, at Atletico de Kolkata, even at ATK Mohun Baagan, where it did not have all this fan following and pressure as Mohun Baagan super giant now have. So that will be a very interesting thing to see how he does it, because he's also not the character to go in. And,
right. I can see him struggling. It's a possibility, for sure.
So that's, and of course the players. The players are Abhishek just wrote, Cummings' honeymoon is over. It might on the other side be, who knows? Habas also had a very good rapport. I remember in the first season with Fikru. Fikru was a free mind. Was sometimes some people would say were a crazy mind, but a very good potential footballer, and he got the best out of that boy. He was one of the reasons why they won the title in season 1. So therefore, now the thing is, I think what Juan Fernando in the end was his downfall was what Shushmit said was this perception thing, was this sort of combined pressure from the fans and the media, where there was somewhat no future because this negativity around this team. And again, yes, you have failed in the AFC Cup, but you're still in it to win potentially the ISL. That is, I think, that's the reality of it. Super Cup is a totally different tournament. You can still win it, but you have lost the perception war of who you are, what you are, what you stand for, and that is the reason of his final downfall. I mean, it's interesting that the gentleman who he replaced in 2020 in December is in January 2024 the man who then replaces him again. So that's also a very, very interesting one. But yeah, it's.
I think Urunoda, you have touched upon the fact earlier that one is also a lot theoretical. The problem with Kolkata football is there are you would meet folks that have watched Mohun Baagan for like 60, 70 years. So if you try to teach them theory, not going to.
No,
and he's trying to
exactly.
educate fans. A lot of fans are not. We are not ready to be educated. I mean, Indian fans mostly go for an entertainment and sometimes just to win, nothing else. The football is a working class game. You are losing in your life. You go win a match watch a match when Mohun Bagan wins. You come home, feel that you have achieved something. Well, so I think that's true for a lot of clubs in other countries too. So
आई थिंक उसने मतलब सर ने सही बोला कि परसेप्शन और वो हार गया एंड दो चीज वो मैनेज नहीं कर पाया। एक तो फैन के साथ वो कनेक्ट नहीं बना पाया कि जहाँ पे वो अपनी पर्सनालिटी इंपोज कर पाए या फिर जो वो बोल रहा है उसको लोग यहाँ पे क्या बोलते हैं एटलीस्ट आधे फैंस उसको समझ पाए और उसको सपोर्ट कर पाए कि हाँ भाई ये चीजें हुई इसलिए यहाँ पे हम ये मैच हारे या फिर ऐसा परफॉर्मेंस आ रहा है। और एक आफ्टर दी 5-2 लॉस आई थिंक वो आपने नोटिस किया होगा कि जितने भी उसके बाद उसने इंटरव्यू दिए हैं कहीं पे वो काफी ज्यादा फ्रस्ट्रेटेड दिखा और जो प्रेशर आपने जो बोला ना कि नेगेटिविटी थी उसको वो सही तरीके से क्या बोलते कि एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पाया उसके जिस तरह से आप स्टेटमेंट आ रहे थे उसके बाद किसी
चैनलाइज नहीं किया
नहीं किया एग्जैक्टली
that is the biggest problem for him. I think the problem with Juan Fernando is at the end of the day English is a foreign language for him. I think this is something which we often forget with the Spanish coaches, that for them to express themselves properly, you saw, as you say, on his face you could see what he was going through, but he was not getting it across that what are the problems. What I read very, very highly with him is he did not throw his players under the bus. He could have done that.
Exactly.
It would have been very easy to one day you throw Sadiku under the bus, the next day you throw Cummings under the bus, the next day you can throw Hugo Bomas under the bus, and the fans would have loved it. But Juan Fernando, being Juan Fernando, is that he also took the blame on himself, which gives him credit. But on the other side, what Shushmit has also said is that he did not understand the pulse. That is a big problem. I felt that he did not understand the pulse and where the things are going, and also where the media was trying to take that journey. Right? That's, I think, for him it was a lost cause. And the point is that that a club like Mohun Baagan, especially now with Mohun Baagan Super Giant, where it is more about Mohun Baagan than about the Mr. Goenka owned entity. This is something which is for an outsider very, very difficult to understand. I think for Bengalis naturally understand this. There is, again,
this pressure situation, whenever you are in pressure, the fans will stand outside your bathroom stall to ask you questions like what is going on. So that constant, it is also very difficult to isolate. These days, people stay in a 5-star, players stay in a 5-star hotel. But the moment you walk out on the street, right, people are going to ask you questions. You go to practice ground in Mohun Baagan, people are going to give you hard stares. It is very difficult mentally to, unless and until you do have a mind of steel, a lot of like a commoner like me will break down, will probably go into depression. And this has happened to a lot of young footballers. That is the cost of playing at clubs like Mohun Bagan and East Bengal. There is no doubt about that. That perception management, and I think, see, I know for a fact, and this is what I've heard from Shayan too, that the Mohun Bagan AC management, right, Devashish Dotto and whoever was in the board, they were dead against him because the beef with them was that Johan was not ready to listen to anyone's input. You also need to be in a situation, and not that I mean they would give meaningful input. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that it is also sometimes, no matter what your boss is right, or your boss is always right, and they in a way is their boss, right?
You
So
have to be smart, Sushmit. You have to be
you have
smart
to
in
be
this.
smart. Yes,
And
yes.
he is
Ideologically doesn't
he
take
is
you a long way. You need to be
yeah,
smart. That's what is lacking.
and the point with the Juan Fernando is that he comes across as this sort of, I wouldn't even say professor, I would rather say teacher like character, right? Who's trying to um, maybe preach is too hard a word, but it goes into that way, what he wants to do. And the point is that if you look at how FC Goa used to play under him, very rarely, with also in this season with the attacking opportunity that he's had, I have seen a Juan Fernando team play that Barcelona style of football, right? With all the possibilities he's had. And this is something which I still haven't understood why, with the understanding of the game that he has, as you've said, he's a good coach. But to be a great coach, either you decide, okay, TK, this squad cannot play my football, or
Right.
you teach your team to try and play your football. And I didn't see both. And that was, to me at least, as an outsider, a worrying point with all the investments that Mohun Bagan Supergiant have made, with all the technical acumen that Juan Fernando has himself in his coaching staff. I mean, when it comes to Indian players, having a Clifford Miranda in there, he's worked with Clifford in Goa. Clifford has shown at Odisha what he's capable of. The knowledge side of things is there, but it just didn't work out. And at some stage, maybe you have to be honest to yourself and say, guys, enough is enough. You have to end it, even if you like it or not. And that I think was the conversation with Habas going on in the background over the last 3-4 days. If he was ready to step in, or if the club was in a situation saying, okay, Habas remains as TD, but we'll have to get someone else. And I think at this stage, it is better to get in someone like Habas, because Habas knows the ISL. Habas knows the owners of Mr. Goenka and his people very, very well. He knows Kolkata also, and he knows Indian football. So all these factors were in there to say, TK, he is the guy. But it would be very interesting to see where this goes, because and interesting to see how the fans react now, because that one focal point of criticism in the club in Juan Fernando is now gone. So will now the pressure rise on the Cummings and the Sadikus, who fans have watched very critically over the last 3-4 months, and I would say to some extent deservingly, because if you come with such a big name and such a big pedigree, you have to deliver for such a club. Very interesting to see. And what the coach does. Does the coach realize and say, listen, Dimi Petratos, the man who won us the ISL last season, he's my number one. I'm building this team around Dimi rather than the bigger names in Petratos in Cummings and Sadiku.
Guys, interesting question. I know you guys have sort of praised Juan Fernando for his knowledge in football. He probably didn't do the best job. Is it a loss for Indian football then that he's gone? Was there another opportunity elsewhere for him with lesser pressure that he could have potentially done better as a coach?
I would have said if he had not left FC Goa. He was building a squad at the time. I think the same thing happened a little later with Sergio Lobera when he left Goa for Mumbai. So the point to me is, yes, I think a coach like that with a team with the less of the noise in and around Kolkata, I think Juan Fernando can succeed in Indian football. But I think Juan Fernando needs to work maybe with the team of younger players. rather than the established players, because there are coaches like that, right? I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about Unai Emery and his success at the moment in Aston Villa. And you've seen him that he's not, at Arsenal, it didn't work out properly. It didn't work out at Paris Saint-Germain, but it worked out at Villarreal. Now it seems to be working also at Aston Villa. So there are these kind of coaches and managers who go to a certain club and it doesn't work out.
Mid-table club.
Man United, very good example of since Sir Alex Ferguson's left 10.5 years ago. You've had some of the biggest names in the football world, in Van Gaal, in Mourinho going in there, in our Professor Ralf Rangnick going in there, in a club legend like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer going in there. They've all failed, So, and other examples, again, Arsenal have kept Arteta and it seems to be working, but is he able to take that final step? Liverpool, the trust in Jurgen Klopp has paid off over the last 7, 8, 9 years. Yeah. So therefore, it depends from club to club what works, what does not work, right? So it is not so easy. I think football is not chess. I always say that. There are so many factors involved. You can bring in the best coach. You can bring in the best players. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And Mohun Baagan has had this problem, or even ETK Mohun Baagan or Atletico de Kolkata, that they sometimes have brought in big names who have not worked at the club. I go back to Florentin Pogba, who we've spoken about in the past. Florentin Pogba for me is still a very, very good a quality player. But for multiple reasons, Florentin Pogba never was able to settle down in Kolkata and really show what kind of a player he is at Mohun Baagan. So therefore, these are realities, right? So it is interesting that some of the teams are, I would say, smart when they sign foreigners who have experience in the market. Manolo did that at Goa. Sergio Lobera has done that in Odisha. Mumbai City has done that last season, bringing in those players. So is this the question of Mohun Baagan buying those players with big names? Or rather bringing in players where okay, there is a name, there's quality, and he understands things. Because, Shushmit, being part of Mohun Baagan, you have to be ready for this, because Mohun Baagan in East Bengal, there's a different kind of pressure.
And fans, let me talk. I try to address it. I think fans have been patient this time. People probably don't realize, like, Amol Datta at one point of time won the National League, and he was given an umbrella and a pack of sweets, and then sacked. So just sucks. The unreal expectation goes to the fact that we want to play free-flowing, beautiful football and win all the trophies. So that's like achieving impossible that you rarely do. Like I would say, in the recent years, we have only seen Kivu Vikuna do that. Although that's a different question, that the league, I definitely think, wasn't as competitive as it is ISL today is. But even with that, I mean, those things happen only once in a while, right? But fans, I think, have been patient. This is something. See, if we would have taken it far, it started becoming like a toxic relationship now. So in a way, I'm happy that he's gone. It is probably good for both Mohun Baagan and for Juan Fernando. I mean, it is what it is sometimes. I mean, I can say that, yes, for the love of football, and we can be patient and all. But honestly, it is not like that in Kolkata. As I said, like, if they would stand outside the bathroom stall asking you for a win in Derby. So first time Carlos got that, he stepped out of Kolkata airport, everyone wanted a Derby win. Like, they didn't care that you still have to play like a couple of games and still need to do and all those things. I think someone is trying to ask, like, why MBSC has not built their own stadium for ISL. I think as a Mohun Baagan fan, I would like to see them play in Mohun Baagan Stadium itself. We do have a stadium which is not too bad. With a little bit of infrastructural upgrade, in my opinion, it is possible that we can play ISL there. That would definitely make things a lot better, and you would see Mohun Baagan fans coming in full pressure. You see that you can look up in Calcutta Football League, Mohun Baagan plays in its own stadium. But so This is for one. I think it's a lot. I don't think it's a huge loss. Nothing gets. We have had bigger names depart. At one point of time, Steve Darby, a gentleman from UK, came in who was a huge name at that point of time. Couldn't do anything and he had to leave. What happened? Nothing changed. Right? We went on to win later. So it is also not, as Bornova said, that it is not always the big names. And I see a lot of people grieving about why do you spend so much money. Understand? If I was in the recruitment team and Cummings was available, I would like to ask any one of them that would you have not recruited him? I would say 8 or 9 out of 10 people would have recruited him.
I would say no. I would have
No,
not said
that's why I said not 10 out of 10. 8 to 9 out of people
no,
recruiting him would have recruited him.
because I think the problem is, and I think Kaushik Mukherjee makes a very, very interesting point regarding man management, and that's a point that the biggest problem I think that Juan Fernando had, if you look back this season, is that he had some issues with his leadership players. You know, that Pritam Kotal no longer is there. Carl McHugh no longer is there. And that is something which, you know, who are the players that the coach trusts to be able to be your mouthpiece on the field. I think we saw after the Kerala Blasters loss, the Bengali interviews with Shubhashish Bose. As nice as Shubhashish is, as a gentleman the boy is, but I think that Shubhashish will not be the guy who's going to turn things around on the field if that need be. He does not have it in him, right? That is the difference. That's why I think, again, we want to go back to the national team. That's why Rahul Beke and Pritam Kotal have been called up, because they are characters who stand up in a dressing room if they need be. They stand up on the field. That's why Sandesh Jhingan has achieved so much as he's achieved, because he's a character on the field. Sunil is that leader. And that is something which I felt this Mohun Baagan team just lacks, that even if the coach is unable to give you that guidance on the field, there seemed to be the lack of sort of the leadership needed, because individually, Mohun Baagan Super Giant this season have one of the best ever squads in Indian football. Period. Ever. Right? If they're going to win it or not, different question. The best team does not always win. But on paper, this is one of the best ever squads put together. But that also then, especially in a Kolkata, raises expectations which are totally unrealistic.
Right.
You know, and that is something, and that's something. I mean, if you win the Durand Cup but lose the derby in the group stages, that derby loss, and this is something which I felt after the Durand Cup, he was always talking, you know, we won the Durand Cup. What's your problem? Sort of Juan Fernando, right? Don't take my word, but he didn't say it that way. But that was what he was trying to imply. And the Mohun Baagan fans like, no, we wanted to win both the derbies. For us, this is more important. We win both the derbies. If we lost a group stage games to Punjab FC or whatever, doesn't matter. What we needed to win, these two matches. This is something which you have to understand.
Even Carlos Quadrat is repeating this. I mean, I have seen him like in his, I think one of the year-end videos also he brought this up, that we defeated Mohun Baagan after 3 or 4 years. So it seems like, and that is something that a lot of people subscribe to. Unfortunately,
yeah. They forget the rest. It is like
we can't look at it beyond the game. It's also a matter of pride and all. And another thing is you can see someone like Kian Nasiri, right? You can see him giving it all in because he understands the ethos of Mohun Baagan, what it means to be playing for Mohun Baagan. Even Shubhashish probably is not as expressive as others, but still he would understand. I think post Kerala match,
he's giving it all. But Shubhashish's problem is that when you ask Shubhashish to take over the role of Pritam Kotal,
right.
I think, and this is what I always say is also knowing Pritam as someone, that players like that are undervalued in Indian football.
Right.
We don't give Pritam Kotal, these kind of characters, Rahul Beke, we don't give them the credit that these boys deserve for what they And it's not just on the field of play, how they play football, or being that leader on the field. Because most of you will have never been or will never be in a dressing room pre-match. That is where you recognize character. That is
And
why
I also have a
Baichung
feeling.
Bhutia is someone like what he was, like Sunil is something like it is. And the point is that leadership, even within a team, outside of a coach, is something which you need in today's football. Right? And that is where sometimes a team goes to a club and says, listen, guys, we don't want to work with this coach anymore. I think it's not working. And then the coach, it's happened in the ISL a few times over the years. So that is something which is very interesting now to see the chemistry between how Habas and the players build that repo and grind. I say the way Habas plays, he will try and grind out results.
Yeah.
And notes to myself, no, I don't think it's compelled Juan to resign. I don't even think Juan resigned in the end. As Shushmit said at the beginning of our conversation, it might have been sold as if he left by himself, but in the end, and the club fired him.
In corporate, no one gets laid off. Everyone resigns.
So the point here is, it's like how you sell it. But again, very often in football, the phrase is used, mutual termination. And it's actually one-sided termination, not mutual termination. So this is how football is. And this is something which one has to live with. And again, Juan has failed on a number of fronts. But if you ask me, 3 years Juan Fernando at Mohun Baagan Supergiant, or 3 years at the entity which is now Mohun Baagan Supergiant, then I'd say, yeah, he has achieved certain level of success. I think in 2-3 years, we will know if he, in the long term, has the respect of the Mohun Baagan fans or not. That will be very interesting. I'd like to see how people afterwards talk about the manager. Because Sushmit
I think everyone respects him. The only, I think, he is not mature enough to be at a club like Mohun Baagan, or like clubs that demand results every game. He will probably do, as Harry was saying, that he would probably do very good in a mid-table team. But again, this constant pressure, right? That constant pressure, he's not able to adapt. Probably, I hope that this parting ways gives him a time to introspect and think that this philosophy thing, he should, while it is important, it should not be the be all and end all, and that is not something that should be written in stone. Football, overall coaching strategy, anything in life, you need to be flexible. When things are not working, you need to try out different things. That he is not doing. I wish him well personally, and I think he will go on to do great things if he can understand this and tries to adapt it in his style. If he does not, this is the only thing that is stopping him from being a great coach. He's a good coach, no doubt about it. And there is also, the term manager also has a management aspect to it. He is probably not ready yet, or with his probably young age or something, he is not able to manage things. So these are the parts that he needs to. As a fan, I think I would like to see him work on, and I am pretty sure he will be very successful somewhere else. Like he has done great things in Greece and all, right? But I doubt if the clubs in Greece and all those places had this kind of unrealistic. I do say that we do have unrealistic pressure, but it is what it is, right? Just because if I acknowledge that, this is unrealistic and let's not do it, I am just one of maybe thousands or lakhs, and the 99% of the people do not subscribe to my views, and I mean, I have to accept that. So this is something whoever comes in has to be. And even for Havas, I have to see for Juan, right? Juan, I can argue that he was lucky to survive last year. Had this been the full-fledged Mohun Baagan Supergiant, and fans were not busy doing remove A2K, he would have been gone last year. This situation, whatever happened today, would have happened last year itself. He survived because he could fly under the radar because there were other things people were busy doing. But this is not the case right now. Same goes for Habas. He might have been very successful in ATK, Mohun Baagan or whatever. But this is a different entity altogether. He is dealing with a different beast. If he thinks it's going to be a cakewalk, he is hugely mistaken. There is high possibility that he will be as frustrated, probably more frustrated than what one is. So this is, and again, I think notes to myself said that we started. I started with the conversation with the thing is that it is in our culture that we say good things about departed souls and sacked coaches. So it is what it is, right? Yeah, he's good, but I mean, again, the fact still remains that a lot of us wanted him out, either to mend his way or to go out. He did not mend his way, so he had to go out. It's natural selection. We can't do anything about it. The club still remains bigger than the coach and the philosophy. We have to accept that. He also needs to accept that. This is something I sincerely hope he takes it as a lesson. And also for us, I hope it does not come back to bite us in the back. I'm saying all these tall claims, but again, I'm also mindful of that. So there is always a condition supply. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I will need to drop, but thank you. It was lovely speaking to all of you. Please continue the conversation.
Thanks so much, Sushmit. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks Sushmit for your time because
No,
again,
no
it's
problem.
important
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
as a Mohun Bagan fan to give your perspectives. Again, we can talk about it, but again, your insights are good, and again, you try to be very balanced, which I like also.
No, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you. Have a good night.
Always. Thanks.
Guys, of course.
Rahul, one point that I wanted to mention, because Sushmit said that about what the last year. It's very interesting that if we had the show last winter, we would have had the same discussions about Simon Grayson and Juan Fernando.
Absolutely.
And both of them survived. Huh? Last year, both of them survived. Now both are gone.
Yeah, I swear. So
बट लास्ट ईयर हमने डिस्कशन किया ही था ना कि ये जुआन फेरांडो के ऊपर भी वो मतलब अगर आई थिंक ट्रॉफी से पहले ही हमने एक बात हुई थी कि वो उसके ऊपर भी वो काफी ज्यादा चांसेस है कि से खो सकता है बट इवेंचुअली सरवाइव कर गया.
Yeah, and it would have been fun going through the run actually after saying that they probably should have gone last year to then both of the coaches sort of doing well and eventually going to the ISL final. It would have been good fun to sort of go through that journey. But anyways, we wish Juan Fernando the best for his future endeavors. Over to Habas, and we'll see how he does at Mohun Baagan Supergiant. The other thing that we had to discuss today was Juan Pedro Banali's contract extension at Northeast United. He will be staying until the end of next season. The contract also has an option to extend by a further year. So, Adama, firstly, I mean, both of you guys, do you guys think it was deserved? The coach has done, he's shown you enough signs to earn this sort of extra year with Northeast?
I think yes. I think Northeast United last season were one of the worst ever teams in the ISL. Let's be honest about that. They are in a rebuilding phase. I found it very interesting when a few days ago Benali came out with that statement ahead of the Goa game and saying, guys, we are still in that building phase. We want to create something over here. And on the other side, we need your support. I think that showed character. And I found it very interesting also when Manolo Marquez in his pre-match press conference spoke very, very highly about Benali. Benali being, as Manolo said, one of the best managers in the league. And it is someone who had at that time only had 11 matches in the ISL. So you realize that there is someone with that level of experience, and maybe there is another Manolo story building at Northeast United. Let's see what he is able to do next season. Bring in the reinforcements, bring in better foreigners. Northeast United could be a top six, a serious top six contender, depending on, of course, what they do this season. But it is someone, and for Northeast, who often have brought in new coaches at the end of seasons, continuity is something which is very, very important in that Indian football context, to try and build something, because a lot of clubs at the end of the season, or even look at the whole Scott Cooper episode at Jamshedpur FC, both sides are not happy and you're not getting anywhere, and then the coach somewhat says, you know what, guys, bye, I'm gone. That's something different. Therefore, Dark Knight, you're right. One Juan extends, the other Juan goes. That's football.
Yeah, absolutely. Hiren, happy with Juan Pedro Banali's performance at Northeast so far, and your thoughts on the extension?
100% happy, because stability is the most important thing for any club to achieve success. And there are multiple examples. तो यहाँ पे हमने देखे, चाहे सिर्फ इंडियन फुटबॉल की बात नहीं, आई थिंक ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड हमने देखा है why Jurgen Klopp and why Pep Guardiola is still successful than other their counterparts, because they have given a time, they have given a their choice of players जो उनको उनके फुटबॉलिंग सिस्टम में फिट होता है, then they get the result. ऐसा नहीं था कि दोनों ने आके पहले सीजन में प्रीमियर लीग अपने नाम कर दिया था. Both take the times, 2-3 transfer window, and accordingly build their team. And I think Pedro Benali, the experience he has, and previously working on the teams जो कि बॉटम हाफ ऑफ द टेबल में थी, और उनको उन्होंने यहाँ पे प्रीवियसली जो काम किया है उन्होंने जितने भी क्लब में, उसमें उन्होंने उनको मिड टेबल और उस तरह की टीमें बनाया है. सो ही नोज कि हाउ द प्रोजेक्ट वर्क्स, हाउ टू बिल्ड द टीम. एंड आई थिंक वो हमने साइंस ये पहले, आई थिंक भले ही रिजल्ट कुछ ऊपर नीचे हुए होंगे, लास्ट के कुछ मैचेस में फॉर्म डेफिनेटली डाउन हुआ है, उसमें इंजरीज भी पार्ट है, अदर फैक्टर्स भी है, बट आई थिंक एक वो साइन दिखा था जब से, मतलब इस सीजन जो एक सबसे बढ़िया चीज मेरे को नॉर्थ ईस्ट की लगी, मैच भले हो चाहे हार रहे हो, लेकिन वो एक फाइटिंग स्पिरिट दिख रही है जो लास्ट सीजन मिसिंग था. लास्ट सीजन इस कि भाई आपने वो एक होप ही छोड़ दिया कि भाई अब तो कुछ होने वाला नहीं. इस बार भी आप देखिए उनके पास, चाहे भले ही जैसे सर ने बोला कि अभी कुछ प्लेयर उनको और भी ज्यादा लाने पड़ेंगे, तब जाके आप एक क्या बोलते हैं कि कॉम्पिटिटिव टीम बन पाएंगे फॉर द फाइट फॉर द टॉप 6. बट वो चाहे कैसे भी उनके पास भी जो भी अभी अवेलेबल प्लेयर है, उनसे भी वो एक फाइटिंग स्पिरिट दिख रही है आपको, चाहे सामने कितनी भी बड़ी टीम हो. एंड वो सबसे बड़ा आपके लिए मेन पॉजिटिव है कि इसी के अराउंड आप क्या बोलते हैं कि टीम बिल्ड कर सकते हो. एक ही ट्रांसफर विंडो में तो ऑब्वियसली नहीं होगी, आपको 2-3 ट्रांसफर विंडो लगेगी आपको एक कोर ग्रुप बनाने के लिए, 7-8 प्लेयर का, 8-9 प्लेयर का. उसके बाद आप क्या बोलते हैं कि परफॉर्मेंस एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हो. तो फाइनली इट्स गुड टू सी फॉर नॉर्थ ईस्ट यूनाइटेड पर्टिकुलरली, क्योंकि मैं चाहता हूँ कि वहां से आई थिंक दे डिजर्व सक्सेस, टू बी ऑनेस्ट. आई थिंक जिस तरह का फुटबॉलिंग टैलेंट वहां से हमें मिल रहा है पर्टिकुलरली नॉर्थ ईस्ट से, सो आई थिंक इट विल बी अ जॉयस मोमेंट फॉर द ऑल द नॉर्थ ईस्ट यूनाइटेड फैंस एंड फॉर द हाईलैंडर्स. सो आई एम रियली हैप्पी टू सी, एंड दिस इज हाउ यू कैन से कि मैनेजमेंट का भी कितना रोल होता है. मंदर तामाने के आने के बाद आई थिंक एक बेंगलुरु एफसी में आप देखिए सारी चीजें डाउनवर्ड्स जाने लगी, एंड नॉर्थ ईस्ट यूनाइटेड के लिए सीधा ही, मतलब जहाँ पे कोई उम्मीद नहीं थी वहां पे अब लग रहा है कि नहीं क्लब कुछ कर सकता है. तो दिस इज द मैनेजमेंट, स्टेबिलिटी, बैकरूम, बिहाइंड द सीन जो चीजें चलती है, वो भी आपके ऑन फील्ड परफॉर्मेंस के ऊपर कितना इम्पैक्ट करती है. इट्स नॉट ओनली अबाउट द स्पोर्टिंग थिंग्स. So I'm really happy to see Pedro Benali's extension.
Absolutely. Ajit saying that Northeast fans deserve a lot, and Benali is the right guy to take them forward. Hopefully he is. Guys, before we leave, now that there is so much, there's sort of a positivity and there's a buzz around Northeast, it's nice to see that. Do they make the top 6? Both of you, Arnava and Hiren, do they make the top 6?
It's a tough call. I think it's a tough call because, again, half of the league is fighting for that 6th spot, and teams will reinforce themselves. So therefore, I couldn't actually tell you who's the favorite to finish 6th. All those teams, except Hyderabad, every team is in with a chance at the moment of finishing 6th. It depends on how do you restructure yourself. Jamshedpur have a new coach in Khalid. All the teams will have new players, will release certain players, and that's a new makeup which makes it interesting. Let February come and let the ISL restart, and then I think only you can say if Northeast or Chennai, East Bengal, BFC, even Jamshedpur or Punjab FC can finish 6th. I think all the teams have that opportunity or possibility. They're all very, very close. So therefore, I think it'll go down to the wire.
I don't know if you had to put your money on one of them.
I'm not saying this to make you happy, but I would think BFC would be my favorites. I think that BFC might be doing a 1-2 transfers at the moment that they're working on, that I think BFC could sort themselves out, because BFC is too strong to be there where they are at the moment. I think that's one would be my top favorite to finish sixth. But let's
Fair
see.
enough.
Let's see. I might be totally wrong.
Yeah, Hiren.
For me, I think for say the sixth position, I think four team I am seeing in contention. One is Chennai FC, second Bengaluru, East Bengal and North East. I think ये चार टीमों में से मेरे को लग रहा है कि वो एंड तक फाइट जाएगा obviously. But my bet is on Chennai FC. I think with the Owen Coyle experience and the player he's looking to sign in the January transfer window also. I think they have capabilities and some interesting players in Indian अगर player की बात भी करें तो I think they have a really good chance and ओवन कोहली ने चेन्नई एफसी के साथ करके भी दिखाया है so I think they have a very good chance. ईस्ट बंगाल भी आप उसको रूल आउट नहीं कर सकते. आई थिंक कार्लोस गुजरात ने पिछले कुछ मैचेस से जिस तरह से एक वो क्या बोलते हैं कि फॉर्मूला है वो उसको ढूंढ लिया है so I think they are will be also इन कंटेंशन बट आई थिंक ये लास्ट डे तक जाएगा. इसमें आप ये नहीं बोल सकते लास्ट मैच तक ही जाएगा कि भाई कौन सी टीम सिक्स पोजीशन पे जा रही है. आई थिंक वो पहले से प्रेडिक्ट करना इट्स टू मच डिफिकल्ट.
Yep. Fair enough, Hiren. It is going to be a lot of fun, guys. It was fun to sort of chat about club football in the middle of this international period. Thanks, Anava. Thanks, Hiren. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Like and share our videos. Subscribe to the channels Sports Khabri, Curious Harry, Arun Foot, and Indian Food and Football. We'll be back. Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night, everyone.